1JHON. Have you ever felt like a pawn in someone else's game? Your decisions subtly influenced, your actions not entirely your own. It's a chilling feeling, a sense of losing control over your own narrative. We often talk about manipulation as something that happens to us, an external force that we're helpless against. But what if I told you that there's a way to reclaim that control, to become immune to the subtle art of manipulation? It's not about becoming manipulative yourself, but about understanding the strategies used against you and building an unshakable inner fortress. Imagine a chessboard, and you're not sure who's moving your pieces. You feel a constant unease, a nagging suspicion that someone else is pulling the strings. Maybe it's a colleague who always seems to take credit for your ideas, or a friend who expertly guilt-trips you into doing things you don't want to do. Perhaps it's even a loved one whose seemingly innocent comments chip away at your self-esteem. These aren't always grand, dramatic schemes. Manipulation often hides in the mundane, the everyday interactions that subtly shape our choices and perceptions. It's the carefully crafted compliment followed by a request, the feigned helplessness that tugs at your heartstrings, the subtle digs disguised as jokes. We're bombarded with persuasive messages every single day, from advertising that preys on our insecurities to political rhetoric that exploits our fears. The world is full of people trying to influence our behavior. But manipulation goes beyond simple persuasion. It's about exploiting vulnerabilities, bypassing rational thought, and ultimately taking away our autonomy. It leaves you feeling drained, confused, and questioning your own judgment. The worst part is, it often happens so gradually that you don't even realize you're being manipulated until it's too late. You wake up one day and realize you've been living a life that isn't truly your own. This isn't about paranoia. It's about awareness. It's about understanding the subtle psychological tactics that manipulators use to gain an advantage. It's about recognizing the red flags, the warning signs that someone is trying to control you. And most importantly, it's about developing the inner strength and resilience to resist these tactics and protect your own mental and emotional well-being. This journey isn't about becoming cynical or distrustful of everyone you meet. It's about empowering yourself to navigate the world with clarity, confidence, and unwavering self-respect. We're going to explore a framework for self-defense against manipulation, drawing inspiration from a surprising source, Niccolo Machiavelli. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Machiavelli, the master of political intrigue? Isn't he the very embodiment of manipulation? Precisely. By understanding the strategies he outlined in The Prince, we can gain a unique insight into the mind of a manipulator. We can learn to recognize their tactics, anticipate their moves, and, ultimately, neutralize their influence. This isn't about endorsing Machiavelli's philosophy. It's about using his insights to protect ourselves from those who would seek to exploit us. Think of it as learning the art of self-defense. You don't learn martial arts to become a bully. You learn it to protect yourself from harm. In the same way, understanding the principles of manipulation can empower you to defend yourself against those who would try to control you. This is about reclaiming your power, setting healthy boundaries, and living a life that is authentically your own. It's about moving from being a passive player in someone else's game to becoming the master of your own destiny. This is a journey of self-discovery, empowerment, and ultimately, liberation. Prepare to unlock the secrets to never being manipulated again. The first crucial step in deflecting manipulative tactics lies in understanding their psychological underpinnings. It's not enough to simply recognize that you feel manipulated. You need to dissect how that manipulation is working on your mind. A key concept here is cognitive biases, those inherent flaws in our thinking that manipulators expertly exploit. Think of confirmation bias, our tendency to favor information that confirms our existing beliefs. A skilled manipulator will feed you a steady diet of information that reinforces your worldview, making you more receptive to their suggestions, even if those suggestions are not in your best interest. Conversely, they will downplay or dismiss any information that contradicts their agenda. Consider, for example, a salesperson trying to convince you to buy a product you don't really need. They might focus on the positive reviews, highlighting the experiences of satisfied customers, while conveniently omitting the negative feedback or potential drawbacks. They're not necessarily lying. but they are selectively presenting information to create a skewed perception. This plays directly into your confirmation bias, making you more likely to believe that the product is a good fit for you, even if your own rational assessment would suggest otherwise. Furthermore, the halo effect comes into play. If the salesperson is charming and likable, you're more likely to trust their judgment, even if they lack expertise in the product they're selling. Another powerful tool in the manipulator's arsenal is the appeal to emotion. Instead of relying on logic and reason, they target your feelings, often using guilt, fear, or pity to influence your decisions. A classic example is the sob story, designed to evoke empathy and compel you to act in a certain way. Perhaps a colleague consistently asks for your help with tasks they should be able to handle themselves, painting a picture of overwhelming stress and personal hardship. You might feel obligated to assist them, even if it means sacrificing your own time and energy. Over time, this can create a pattern of exploitation, where your compassion is consistently taken advantage of. Building on this, however, is the concept of gaslighting, a particularly insidious form of manipulation that aims to distort your perception of reality. Gaslighters will deny your experiences, question your sanity, and attempt to make you doubt your own memories. This can be incredibly damaging to your self-esteem and sense of self-worth. Imagine a situation where your partner consistently criticizes your appearance, then denies ever having said anything negative when you confront them. They might tell you that you're being too sensitive, or that you're misremembering things. Over time, this can erode your confidence and make you question your own judgment, making you more dependent on the gaslighter's validation. Equally significant is understanding the power of social proof. We are inherently social creatures, and we often look to others for cues on how to behave. Manipulators can exploit this tendency by creating the illusion of widespread support for their ideas or actions. They might claim that everyone agrees with them or that most people are doing a certain thing, even if that's not actually the case. This can create a sense of pressure to conform even if you have reservations. Now, consider how this applies when you face pressure to participate in office gossip or engage in unethical behavior at work. The manipulator might try to convince you that everyone does it, or that it's just part of the culture, making you feel like an outsider if you resist. Another crucial layer is recognizing the tactic of future faking, where manipulators promise future rewards or benefits to keep you compliant in the present. They might dangle the prospect of a promotion, a raise, or a romantic relationship, but never actually deliver on their promises. This can keep you trapped in a cycle of hope and disappointment, constantly striving for something that never materializes. It's essential to be wary of individuals who consistently make grand promises but fail to follow through with concrete actions. Remember, genuine intentions are usually accompanied by tangible results, not just empty words. Now, let's pivot to cultivating a keener sense of self-awareness, the bedrock of invulnerability to manipulative ploys. This goes beyond a simple understanding of your likes and dislikes. It demands a rigorous examination of your core values, your emotional vulnerabilities, and your habitual patterns of behavior. Imagine yourself as a seasoned cartographer meticulously mapping the intricate terrain of your inner landscape. What are the hidden valleys of insecurity that manipulators might exploit? What are the towering peaks of conviction that no amount of external pressure can sway? A powerful technique to foster this introspection is journaling. Regularly recording your thoughts, feelings, and experiences can reveal recurring themes and patterns that might otherwise remain hidden. For instance, you might discover that you consistently feel resentful after interacting with a particular individual, even if you can't pinpoint a specific reason why. This could be a sign that you're being subtly manipulated, perhaps through veiled criticisms or passive-aggressive behavior. By documenting these interactions, you can begin to identify the specific tactics being used and develop strategies to counter them. Equally vital is to understand your emotional triggers, those specific words, phrases, or situations that tend to evoke strong emotional reactions. Manipulators are often adept at identifying and exploiting these triggers to gain control. For example, if you have a deep-seated fear of failure, a manipulator might use threats or intimidation to pressure you into complying with their demands. By recognizing your triggers, you can learn to anticipate these attempts and respond in a more measured and rational way. Think of it like defusing a bomb. Identifying the trigger is the first step in preventing an explosion. Besides this, consider the role of your personal boundaries. Are you clear about what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not? Do you consistently enforce these boundaries, or do you often find yourself compromising them to appease others? Manipulators thrive in environments where boundaries are weak or non-existent. They will probe for weaknesses, testing your limits until they find a point of vulnerability. Establishing firm and clearly communicated boundaries is essential for protecting yourself from exploitation. It's like building a strong fence around your property. It sends a clear message that you are not to be trespassed upon. On a similar note, it's worthwhile to assess your need for external validation. Do you rely heavily on the opinions of others to feel good about yourself? Manipulators often target individuals with a strong need for approval, showering them with praise and attention to gain their trust, then using that trust to manipulate them into doing things they wouldn't otherwise do. Cultivating a strong sense of self-worth that is independent of external validation is crucial for resisting these tactics. It's like having an internal compass that guides you, regardless of the direction the wind is blowing. To that end, embrace solitude and periods of deep reflection. Disconnecting from the constant noise and distractions of the external world can allow you to reconnect with your inner voice and gain clarity about your values and priorities. This can be particularly helpful if you're feeling confused or overwhelmed by a manipulative situation. Spending time alone can provide the space you need to process your thoughts and feelings, identify the manipulative tactics being used, and develop a plan of action. It's like retreating to a quiet sanctuary to recharge your batteries and regain your perspective. Now, let's delve into constructing an arsenal of psychological tools to counter manipulation head-on. Merely recognizing manipulative tactics and understanding your vulnerabilities isn't enough. You need concrete strategies to deflect, neutralize, and ultimately disarm those who seek to exploit you. One potent technique is mastering the art of assertive communication. This isn't about aggression or hostility, but rather about expressing your needs and boundaries clearly, respectfully, and without apology. Think of it as erecting a sturdy shield that deflects manipulative advances without causing unnecessary conflict. Consider, for instance, a colleague who habitually asks you to cover their shifts at the last minute, knowing you're a reliable and conscientious employee. Instead of passively agreeing out of guilt or fear of confrontation, practice assertive responses. You might say, "I understand you're in a bind, but I'm unable to cover your shift tonight. I have prior commitments. Perhaps you could reach out to another team member." Notice the directness, the absence of excuses, and the focus on your own needs. This signals that you're not easily swayed by emotional appeals and that your time and energy are valuable. Further bolstering your defenses is the skillful application of strategic questioning. Manipulators often rely on vague or ambiguous language to mask their true intentions. By asking probing questions, you can force them to clarify their statements and reveal their underlying motives. Imagine a scenario where a salesperson is pressuring you to make a quick decision on a major purchase, claiming that this offer won't last long. Instead of succumbing to the pressure, ask specific questions. When exactly does the offer expire? What are the terms and conditions? Can I see the fine print? Such inquiries can expose hidden fees, limitations, or other red flags that the salesperson was hoping to conceal. Of equal importance is cultivating the practice of delayed response. Manipulators often thrive on creating a sense of urgency, pressuring you to make snap decisions before you have time to think things through. By deliberately delaying your response, you can regain control of the situation and avoid being rushed into a decision you might later regret. Picture yourself in a negotiation where the other party is pushing you to accept their terms immediately. Resist the urge to respond impulsively. Instead, say something like, "Thank you for the offer. I need some time to consider it carefully. I'll get back to you by date." This buys you valuable time to weigh your options, consult with others, and make a more informed decision. Compounding this, however, is the development of emotional detachment. Manipulators often target your emotions to cloud your judgment. By learning to detach emotionally from the situation, you can analyze it more objectively and make decisions based on logic rather than feelings. Suppose a friend is trying to guilt-trip you into lending them money, playing on your sympathy and highlighting their dire financial situation. Acknowledge their situation, but remain emotionally detached. Evaluate their request objectively. Can they realistically repay the loan? What are the potential risks? Are there alternative solutions? This allows you to make a decision based on sound reasoning rather than succumbing to emotional manipulation. Another beneficial measure involves the utilization of the gray rock method. This strategy entails becoming deliberately uninteresting and unresponsive to the manipulator's attempts to engage you. By providing minimal emotional reactions and avoiding any personal disclosures, you deprive them of the fuel they need to continue their manipulation. Consider a situation where someone is constantly trying to provoke you with negative comments or criticisms. Instead of reacting defensively or engaging in an argument, respond with bland, neutral statements like, "Okay," or "perhaps." This signals that you're not willing to play their game and that they're wasting their time trying to manipulate you. Reflecting on this journey so far, it becomes evident that true protection from manipulation isn't a matter of erecting impenetrable walls, but rather of cultivating a resilient inner garden. It's less about identifying every potential threat lurking outside, and more about nurturing the strength and clarity within to weather any storm. The strategies we've explored aren't merely isolated techniques, but interwoven threads in a tapestry of self-mastery. They converge to create a holistic approach to navigating the complex social landscape, one where you remain firmly at the helm of your own ship. Think of it like learning to sail. Understanding the mechanics of the boat, the currents of the sea, and the signs of impending weather are all crucial. But equally important is the ability to adapt to changing conditions, to make swift decisions under pressure, and to maintain a steady course even when the winds are against you. Similarly, resisting manipulation requires a blend of knowledge, awareness, and unwavering self-possession. It's about not only recognizing the tactics being used against you, but also about having the inner resources to respond effectively and authentically. In light of these insights, the path forward becomes clearer. It's a path that demands constant vigilance, not in the sense of suspicion or distrust, but in the sense of mindful presence. It requires a commitment to ongoing self-reflection, a willingness to examine your own biases and vulnerabilities, and a dedication to honing your communication skills. It's a path that leads not to a fortress of isolation, but to a place of genuine connection, where relationships are built on trust, respect, and mutual understanding, rather than coercion or control. Drawing these strands together, we see that the ultimate defense against manipulation is not about outsmarting the manipulator, but about transcending the game altogether. It's about refusing to participate in the power dynamics that fuel manipulation, and instead choosing to operate from a place of integrity, authenticity, and unwavering self-respect. It's about recognizing that your worth is not contingent on the approval of others, and that your decisions are your own to make, free from the influence of external pressures. As we pivot towards the final reflection, consider the cumulative effect of these ideas. It's akin to learning a complex musical piece. Initially, each note, each chord seems separate and challenging. But with practice and understanding, they begin to flow together, creating a harmonious whole. Similarly, the various strategies we've discussed, when integrated into your daily life, can create a symphony of self-assurance and resilience, empowering you to navigate any situation with grace and unwavering confidence. This journey isn't merely about avoiding manipulation. It's about embracing a life of greater freedom, authenticity, and self-determination. In the end, the secret to never being manipulated isn't a secret at all. It's a journey inward, a relentless pursuit of self-understanding and unwavering self-respect. It's about recognizing that true power doesn't come from dominating others, but from mastering yourself. It's about understanding that your worth isn't determined by external validation, but by the intrinsic value you place upon your own being. Think of a lighthouse standing tall against the crashing waves, its beam cutting through the darkest night. It doesn't fight the storm, but it remains steadfast, guiding ships safely to shore. Similarly, the strategies we've explored aren't about battling manipulators, but about becoming a beacon of clarity and strength, illuminating your own path and guiding you towards authentic choices. This inner resilience becomes your most potent defense, a shield forged not of armor, but of self-awareness and unwavering conviction. The implication stretches beyond mere self-preservation. When you refuse to be manipulated, you not only safeguard your own well-being, but also contribute to a more honest and authentic world. You disrupt the cycle of exploitation, inspiring others to reclaim their own power and demand relationships built on respect and equality. You become a catalyst for positive change, fostering a culture where manipulation is recognized, resisted, and ultimately rendered powerless. The true practice begins now, not as a set of rigid rules to follow, but as a continuous exploration of your inner landscape. It's an invitation to embrace vulnerability, to acknowledge your imperfections, and to cultivate self-compassion in the face of challenges. It's a call to live with intention, to make choices that align with your values, and to stand firm in your truth, even when it's difficult. This isn't a destination, but a lifelong voyage of discovery, a journey towards a more authentic, empowered, and fulfilling existence. Carry this awareness forward, not as a burden, but as a guiding light, illuminating the path towards a life lived on your own terms, free from the shadows of manipulation.